Here we go then. It all comes down to this. The final matchup in the last week here of stage 3. And it is Rapha versus Cha1n. That is the last game we have served up for us, Jahar.
This has been an incredible week. It's been full of very respectful games. It's been full of disrespectful games. I love them all, and this match is going to be no exception. Of course, Rapha being Rapha is a tall order for Cha1n, but he's this historic, like all night pugger. He's taken competition in whatever form it can take. So right now, like no matter what happens in the match, he does play against Rapha all the time. He's definitely got his goals set. Right now, the entire goal for the league is to take a map off of Rapha. The only person during the entire season to do that has been Dehang, and Dehang is Dehang. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, Cha1n, this is all just good data for him no matter what.
Exactly. It's a helpful benchmark at the end of the day. Let's get straight into the vetoes then and see what secrets that does keep within it. Because to start us off in the series, it will be Molten Falls. That is Cha1n's pick. He's coming out with a Nyx versus Rapha's Strog and Pika. After that is going to be Blood Covenant with Visor for Cha1n and a Slash for Rapha. And we finish it on Awoken with something a little bit different. It's a Sorlag for Rapha and the Eisen coming through for Cha1n.
Yeah, more Swordlight. That's always fun. Again, I'm wondering if more stories happening here from the bans. We've got Doom Guy taken out of the running for Awoken. Ranger's out. Ranger as a late ban. Athena as an early ban from Cha1n. So again, this close to a finals, it's always a little bit ambiguous how much you can read into the tea leaves of the picks and bans. Some of it is indicative of what you're going to see during the final. Some of it might be exactly the opposite. So here we are now.
Yeah, well, Molten to start us. Obviously, we do have the Nyx on Cha1n, so we can try and use that Ghost Walk to give him a little bit of extra sustain, the getaway tactics that can come through, but it is the Rapha, Strog, and Pika, so be channeling a bit of his inner Dehang on that one.
Yeah, so the pacing and timing of using a Ghost Walk is always interesting with the different champion matchups against Nyx. With Strog, the Peeker will rarely be the thing to force the usage of the Ghost Walk. So usually after the Ghost Walk is used, that's where it kind of ends up being a little bit more useful. Because again, Nyx doesn't take a whole lot to take apart once her Ghost Walk is down. All right.
Fight.
Well, here we
Here we
go.
go, Rapha on Strog. It's going to be a railgun pickup and immediately doubling back to cover the LG at the very least. Sometimes the speed means they've already got there and they've already got the pickup, but at least you can put eyeballs on it. All of that before picking up the heavy armor. Now, of course, Cha1n will have rocket launcher and Mega, and just now a railgun, just in time to defend from this angle.
Rapha starting to roam back around, gets himself a little bit more to play with, and does summon that Pika into quite a sneaky position. Tries to just dive in with it, but couldn't actually get it off. Smashed it into the pole instead. Now fires down directly onto Cha1n for the elevated angle. Will finish him with the LG.
Yeah, the Peeker play was interesting because Cha1n had already popped the Ghost Walk, so I'm not sure what real use there was going to be out of that. However, Rapha taking away that first frag. Cha1n is still 16 seconds away from getting that Ghost Walk back, so for having taken that jump pad, Rapha's going to be dangerous on the move towards the heavy armor. We hear the teleporter up top, but Cha1n immediately bails and goes down for a rocket launcher.
Rapha's on the hunt. Spots him. The Ghost Walk timing. He was forced out to use it just as Mega spawned in, so he's going to be kicking himself that he wasn't able to secure it. Rapha's chased him as well. Had a good sneaking suspicion of the location he was going to. Makes it there in record time to keep him at bay. He's running low on LG. Right back round to grab some more. Replenishes it. And spills a couple more pints of blood.
At least, with some tasty strength to take down at the tail end of it. And this is a rough corner to be in. Yeah, it's going to be a quick out. You don't really want to be caught too far away from a wall as a Nyx. Kind of your main way to get out of the fight. But there's the Ghost Walk. He's done good damage to Rapha in the meantime. This could be a frag here. Rapha's at 10 HP. Cha1n sounds like he's chasing from behind, though. So Rapha's going to stop. collaborate and listen on the Mega. Getting a little bit of mid-air Tri-Bolt damage after all. And there's the peeker play. Cha1n's gonna be weak, has to leave the Mega. Heavy's not a good place to go to either, so this is just time for Rapha to hunt.
Rapha. He's been having a bit of a field day so far. Seems like nothing's really going to be changing that. He's got his arsenal built up. He's roaming around, looking to try and get ahead of Cha1n. Drops down to pick up the heavy, launches himself back up out of there. Just as Cha1n rears his head round the corner. They race for control of the Mega. Again, that's going to force out another Ghost Walk, barely so he can even escape at this point, but he knows where he's going. He reads it well, tracks him down, slams him with the Pika. The rocket round the corner's coming out, but at least Cha1n's doing a little bit of damage.
A little bit. And he's generally gotten to the point where Rapha is indeed railable, but it doesn't last long. There's still a lot of 25s for Rapha to take. And generally, Cha1n hasn't been that aggressive on the heavy items afterwards, so he's going to be able to escape here. Rapha's got both heavy and Mega now, so there's that slapping of the reset button once again where Cha1n just has to start from square one all over again. Which is, again, a common setup for a Nyx play, so fortunately you get a lot of chances to kind of rinse and repeat and try once again to use that Ghost Walk more aggressively. But he's got it now, just, you know, no armor.
Ooh. Rapha with a shotty, just gliding round. Looking like he's on his quad bike at the minute as he is trying to chase down Cha1n. Coming up close towards the 5-minute mark. The game of peekaboo goes the way of Rapha on the initial phase as well as the rocket comes out. Oh, he had an idea of where Cha1n would be, and it doesn't matter that he's got Ghost Walk, as Rapha's looking very closely and knows exactly where he is every time.
I don't hate it, actually. The fact that he was going for the telefragment, he was going kind of for the Hail Mary, it had to be something. He only used like one rocket against the graded floor before being forced to go to the Ghost Walk, so getting some utility out of it, I could... Oh, whoa, how did he... What? Was that... I didn't see an explosion. He just kind of crumpled and died. Jeez. Not sure how he died. I'm guessing it was a rocket, but I didn't see an explosion.
Ooh. Another Ghost Walk. Another bit of a struggle between them both. Rapha again so low, but Cha1n just can't kill him, and he can't get back to at least even dropping 0 frags at this point. He's stuck, -1, as Rapha racking up the frags, getting closer and closer to victory by the second as he pushes this further in his favor. He's hoovering up all of the major items. The speed's helping him so much in being able to pull off these mass rotations. Cha1n, ooh, blown clean off the edge.
It's always that question as a Nyx player. You know, what do I do when I don't have Ghost Walk and my opponent is so aggressive, so accurate, so stunningly handsome? It's a conundrum. Well, here comes Peeker once again. Cha1n, it takes it out of the air. But 2 seconds to heavy, and Cha1n just still has to take away 25s. He's finally got his Ghost Walk back up, but he's just barely not railable. And again, I think the big takeaway we can make here from how Saigib was playing Scale Bearer was not only are you needing to play around the ability, you need to make that happen in a place that favors you. So far, the rail room has not been the place, the mega room has not been the place. The heavy armor might well be the best spot for Cha1n to kind of set up his plays, but the frags are happening at a rate that makes it very difficult to do that.
Leaping into action. Rapha just swinging wildly time and time again. It's another kill. Another throw down that goes his way as he's looking so far ahead in the game already. There's a lot of time left to work with, but Cha1n just can't really get a start, let alone actually be able to bring this one back and build up a nice buffer.
Yeah, but like you said, I mean, it's a benchmark. You're trying to answer questions about how you're playing Nyx and how you're playing around Strogg. It just so happens that Strog has Rapha at the driver's seat. This isn't a bad spot though. So Rapha getting that rail, and yeah, that opened things up for the peeker. And it's also instructive, you know, in the future. Like, do you want to play Nyx against the Strog? Is that peeker enough of a problem when you don't really have the stack to bring to a fight like that to begin with?
Rapha still in a commanding position and looking to headhunt his way through. I think he's like 200 points ahead of the nearest next person in the standings as well, so he's looking to make that like 250 by the end of this game if possible. Oh, the railgun shot is absolutely disgusting. And Cha1n barely holds on to his life here.
Sure, he had to consider if he wanted to at that point. Nice rail through the legs. So there's a real gradient of going, all right, I'm using the Ghost Walk to like trap him. I'm using the Ghost Walk to telefrag. I'm using the Ghost Walk to get closer. All the way down to I'm using the Ghost Walk because this fight isn't going my way. And then we're at the point of I'm using the Ghost Walk to cross this room. It's just that dangerous. We have final minute coming up. Rapha's not too far off from being railable himself. But taking a look here at items, like Cha1n's got 2 heavies, 5 megas, to Rapha's 14 and 11 respectively. And that carries through to the small armors as well.
1 minute warning.
Rapha back in. The LGs zipping by one another as they cross the streams for a small period of time. Rapha is still so far ahead, there really isn't much that can come out of this from Cha1n. If he could at least get himself a frag to try and put this back into a neutral position, that would probably be his best bet. Rapha isn't going to allow him to. He plays them the same way from start to finish. He doesn't get overzealous, he doesn't get flustered. He just absolutely lives for it. And there's his follow-up frag with the rail. 13 to -1.
Yeah, the -1 does hurt a little bit. Still want to go back and like frame by frame that shot. Like what even happened to poor Cha1n there? But as painful as it is, that's the way it's gonna go. 14 to -1 on Molten Falls. GG's called out. And yeah, it's no more Nyx play for Cha1n. Close one, says Cha1n.
A toughie of a game. Rapha looking like he always does, really. He's just unstoppable and was just living his movie, doing classic Rapha things in Rapha fashion, and that's what we had go down on Molten.
Well, it's going to be, excuse me, it's going to be a little bit more, I don't want to say vanilla at this point, but, you know, Cha1n will have a little bit more HP and armor to bring to bear in the next match. The Sorelight coming out of Rapha later is still interesting to me. It's going to be on Awoken, but for now, Rapha is going to be bringing in Slash to Blood Covenant up against Cha1n's Visor, which could really almost end up in the same kind of situation where Cha1n will have an ability that allows him to ideally set up a situation, but Rapha has the ability just to be on Cha1n the entire time, just keep that pressure up. We saw it before on Molten Falls, we might see it again on Blood Covenant.
Hopefully there's at least something extra he can get out of it, right? Obviously, it is a good pick to play with. You get a lot more information from it, whereas Rapha's use of that ability is going to be a lot more aggressive or potentially just defensive to block off choke points. Visor, it's all round. You can always rely on the fact you'll then get a clear-cut bit of information to help him out. But when it comes down to the actual fragging potential, right now, again, Rapha is just through the roof, right? So what can he actually do in that forefront?
Actual fragging, you know, things that actually, you know, help you win games. Yeah, if I'm Cha1n, I'm just, you know, praying as hard as I can that I spawn rail, or it's not even the rail platform, because that means he'd be coming from bridge. That would suck too. Like, if you could spawn on the railgun, that would be a dream come true. We'll see what happens.
You would have to rig it for that one, but it would probably be the best case scenario for him. Seems like we are ready then for our second matchup between these two bruisers, as we will carry on.
All right, but it's actually Rapha who spawns with Rail, so that's actually the exact opposite of what Cha1n wanted. So he's going to have to play from a relative disadvantage 10 seconds in. But Rapha's actually giving him a lot of room. He's giving him a lot of space. Look at this. Cha1n's already got himself another railgun, so a nice little bit of politeness coming from Rapha, maybe. And see how he's being repaid for his act of kindness. He's been railed twice. Rapha's got to leave. Cha1n still 10 seconds from getting his piercing sight, but he's making such good use of the rail already.
Well, he keeps getting the tags though, no matter what distance he's playing from. This at least forces Rapha to have to play a little bit more reserved, but that was only for the first few seconds. Now you wouldn't even notice. He's buffed the damage right out. Ooh, and he's looking to be the one to try and turn the tides with the railguns, firing off his warning shots as he roams back over towards the Mega. 10 seconds too early, and maybe this could cause a bit of turmoil.
Yes, indeed, but at least the damage ratios are a little bit more even this time around. Rapha, though, is able to float nicely and get out of the fight, get out of the situation. Both items coming up, and there's a little bit of delay, a little bit of spin being put on it by Cha1n. That spin that Rapha is going to see and know that, okay, if he had taken it right when I had taken Mega, he already would have been gone. So Cha1n wanted to get some extra information out of that. Didn't quite go his way. Good rocket coming from Rapha.
Got another plasma trail, but no plasma being spilt. Both of them low, but no actual frag being racked up to open up the game just yet. We're about 2 minutes in. And Rapha playing fast and furious, straight up on the bounce pad, secures the Mega. Oh, can he keep his life?
He thought that would be a fadeaway rocket or just a little bit of spam, but no, he was railable on that corner. Couldn't get around it. First frag goes to Cha1n. A welcome change from Molten Falls. Good initial rail here. He's about to be able to pop his piercing sight and set up for another one potentially. But can he see why kids love the taste of Cinnamon Toast Crunch? Well, he's able to get that rail in at the very least. Oh, there's that pop, but the door denied the rail. He needed that. He sees the rocket pop or hears it first, and he goes, aha, this is my opportunity. But look at the speed coming out of Rapha. Just too much for Cha1n to lay down the rockets properly. There it is, tying it back up, 1-1.
Keeping it close. Trying to see what more they can get out. Rapha. Ooh, fast on the move. Snowballs going flying. Doesn't matter. He sat by the Mega. That was really the one thing he wanted to guarantee he got from this entire encounter, and he will take it. Shooting back as well with the tri-bolt. That'll be the snatch and grab onto the rail. And also heavy, so he is fully stacked. Every time a major item comes up, he's making quick work to dart over and steal it, but he wants to steal away another kill. Trying to slice his way through Cha1n. A lot of damage done, but he might actually escape his grasp.
That downward directed rocket could have just been the biggest dunk. Just have to go for those meaty plays sometimes. Thanks for a good frag video at least, but yeah, still 1-1. And Rapha is turning up the pressure. Cha1n is on his back foot. Now he's on no feet at all. Too bad he's not playing Nyx. Nyx has feet. Rapha, taking very little damage in that fight, is ready for the next one up against Cha1n. Cha1n just wants a rocket launcher. It didn't need to be like this. Ugh.
Two frags ahead now. Really starting to build himself quite a large distance between. Cha1n grabs himself the rocket, comes down. He will not give him any of these major items. He is so greedy for each and every one of them, and he is over him like a rash constantly as he swings around. Rockets coming out. That's another frag found as Rapha is just obliterating him whenever they get into combat.
Yeah, Rapha was just treating those rockets that Cha1n was throwing out just like speed bumps, and it certainly didn't slow him down much at all. Again, Cha1n is in some way kind of trying to answer the question of what do I do when I don't have piercing sight? What do I do when I don't literally have a wall hack on him the entire time? Do I know where he is? Do I know how to hit him? Maybe not. Maybe not at the moment. Halfway through,
5 minute
and Rapha
warning.
is maintaining this momentum. Taking away 25s, shopping for health, as he's getting ready to go on the warpath once again.
Rapha. Free firing with the rockets. It'll be the rail that does the damage, though, in the initial confrontation between the both of them. The splash damage going down. Plasma all over the gaff. So if you wanted to try and push him on the bridge, you would have taken a ton of damage, giving Rapha the distance he needs to dart his way as he zips and weaves his way back over towards Mega. 8 seconds till it's up. The downward rockets slamming into Cha1n as well. But it's the rail that'll pop him.
There's a little bit of like mental seizing going on here where Cha1n is getting fixated on what Rapha's going to do next. So sure, like, yeah, he's going to pop through the teleporter and I'm going to rail him. That's just the way this fight goes. But no, Rapha, a couple streets ahead. 6 minutes off the clock. And Cha1n's at least managed to keep that score out of the negatives. But this jump up the jump pad, I don't know if, I mean, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't graceful. It got the job done. I'm not sure if I would be proud of it.
Rapha taking a little bit of damage finally, but it's just not going to matter. No matter what Cha1n does, he can't actually get himself an entry point into the game. Rapha's just continuously overthrowing him, time in, time out. He's grinding him up.
Chewy. He's such a nice guy too. You know, you wouldn't ever dream talking to him that he really just enjoys punishing people and making them cry. But then you see what he does in game. It's a totally different personality. What a cruel, cruel person. But he's been taken down to railable health. Oh, that was nearly the shot that Cha1n needed. With 60 and 50, it wouldn't quite have done the job, but still. Rapha was able to get those 25 so quickly, using the plasma trail just to block off the doorway long enough to get the Mega. Taking options away from Cha1n. Take note of that, kids.
Nearly 8 minutes now. Rapha, so much further ahead. Finally a mistake is made, and all it was just the one rocket jump. Everything else has been absolutely flawless for him. Railgun is out on display. It's not actually leaving a dent on Cha1n. It was whizzing by him. Gave him that opportunity to at least get a Mega. With health ready to fight, he charges in, but the plasma trail's going down. You can see the instant paranoia. He knew he had to get out, but he didn't want to be leaving in a casket.
No. At this point, Cha1n just has to be saying, 1v1 me CTF, bro. Come on, do it. Oh. 1 HP! No! No! I don't even want to say it. You know what I'm going to say. I don't want to say it. It's ridiculous. 1 HP against a machine gun even getting around that corner. Calculated every time.
God damn. It is just wild how far ahead he is. And the things that he's been pulling off, it's just madness. Luckily enough, there we go. Cha1n will strike eventually. Pretty much just 60 seconds to go. It's really only a matter of time on this one before it goes the way of Rapha, and we're taken to the third map.
1 minute warning.
And you can see moments where these rails and rockets from Cha1n are on point. They're just not quite taking into account Slash's speed fully. Like, if it were any other champion, yeah, Cha1n's rocket would be, like, precise every single time. But you have to recalibrate not only to the champion, but to the player. And calibrating to Rapha. That's, yeah, have fun with that. Yeah, 30 seconds, 2 frags for Cha1n. At this point, he has to consider that an accomplishment.
Ooh. The rapid transition on that was absolutely beautiful. A cinematic frag to probably take us out here, as there's only 10 seconds left, unless it is going to end 12-2. If Rapha can get one more, He wants to try and do so. He's landing the rails, but I don't think it's going to happen. That'll probably be it. Locked in, 11-2, as Rapha cuts through the competition on the second map.
Brutal. Crazy. I mean, still 46% rails coming out of Cha1n, making good hits, 39% LG. Rockets were kind of rougher, and rockets are against a slash player. If you can get the timings right out of corners, if you can get the timings right out of teleporters, then that opens you up for a whole lot of opportunity. It's just that much off the entire match, and that describes a much larger gap in the score. So we're going to be going over to the third map where we see Rapha pulling out Sorlag for reasons.
Yeah, Awoken. Sorlag for Rapha. I
Yeah.
mean, she's speedy. She can do an awful lot.
She can't get through doorways.
No,
Not...
no. Which might be a bit of an issue, especially when you're up against
I'm
that
trying to cut back on
Aizen.
the pizza myself. It's just, it has to be said.
He's got that turret. He can be a naughty, naughty boy. And this is it, really. This is the final matchup of the day as well. This is everything we have. This is the last map, last game, last fight of stage 3
No
between
pressure,
these
Cha1n.
two in the group stage. So yeah, if there is a moment, a spark, then hopefully we get to see it against the Sorlag here on the Aizen.
And again, Sorlag's value is elevated when you have a pick ban system. That means that your other like CPM characters like Anarchy could be taken out. You run out of Anarchy, you run out of Slash. Who can still move the way Rapha obviously wants to move today? That answer is Sorlag, especially if Anarchy gets banned. So here we go. But Awoken, I mean, it's a much smaller map. Cha1n's ability to make good on his rockets is going to be elevated. That will be handy. Again, a lot of it will come down to the first spawn, and less because of the objective value of that spawn, but because of the choices it kind of gives you. The things that you know are going to be like pretty sure bets. If I spawn rail, then I can go either for that first rocket launcher or for the heavy armor, unless my opponent just like immediately makes a beeline for the rocket launcher. There's a really cool spawn system in Quake Champions Duel where if you spawn at point A at the beginning of a match, you know where your opponent spawned. And in round-based duel, that happened several times in a match. Now it only happens the once, but it still leads to like a fairly finite and manageable number of scenarios to kind of deal with at the beginning of a game. But yeah, we got Cha1n coming back in.
Yeah, just waiting for Rapha to restart his game there before we have the last game of the night between these two. Shouldn't take too long to get underway with our matchup on Awoken. And obviously, with the way things have been going as well, it really is just a big question mark of, does Cha1n have anything left on this final map? Or is this just going to be the same old story from Rapha, as he's just doing what he does best? He's out there absolutely fragging consistently. Every single fight he gets into, he looks so dominant. And we've seen that time in, time out. He has just rejoined, so should be a few moments before we're now ready.
Cha1n's a fairly mature player. I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot of emotional investment here that's bothering him. Again, it's data. It's useful. He knows what the stakes are. He knows where he is in the rankings today, and he knows where he wants to get to. So again, this is useful. Like anybody who gets to play Rapha at this kind of scale. Yeah, it's educational. You will learn. It'll hurt. You won't be able to sit down for a few days, but you will learn.
That's what he does best. He teaches people lessons. Rapha always out there to do a little bit of schooling. But here we go. Awoken then between these two. The last match in today's series here for week 10 of stage 3. Rapha on the Sorlag. We're going to see some speedy plays coming in on Awoken. Probably a lot of aggression coming through.
Yeah, we'll be interested to see how he manages doorways. But that being said, you're right. There's going to be a lot of really good tail wiggling going on here. Really interested to see what Cha1n is bringing to the table when it comes to turret placements.
Yeah, are there any cheeky turrets that he is going to be bringing out? Well, here we go. As we slip back into the game, Cha1n straight away grabs himself a Mega. He'll be happy to have that one to work with. And he is just spamming that Tri-Bolt like a lunatic, worried about all angles of attack already.
I dig it. Just kind of throw something out to get some info and back away. But it also gives Rapha information. Means that if I come back around the corner from where he shot Tri-Bolt and he's not there, then I know exactly where he's going to be. So pretty good damage with the spit. Ready for the next fight on the Mega. Taking a quick breather to get that armor. See if Cha1n wants to pop back out. And indeed he does. He wants that heavy. He's going to be able to get it. This is going to be shaft on shaft, and Rapha a little bit longer, a little bit stronger.
Rapha.
Oh, could have done the rocket. Pulled it back though. He waited. And similarly, Cha1n, yeah, just being very cautious on that jump pad. Rapha's not quite railable, but ooh. Good Tri-Bolt damage. Cha1n won't have a railgun here though. He needs to cross the map for rocket, needs to cross the map for rails. Rapha's got him in a tough spot off the spawn.
He's just spamming these out as well, forcing him back. As he'll lurk around, watching towards the rail room. There's a big tag, nice hefty chunk of damage translated across on towards Cha1n. He will start to charge in as well, prepared for a push. Firing out the warning shots initially as the rails are being traded by both men. No actual tags are being found just yet for either one of them. Rapha on the hunt.
But being pretty conservative about it. Just one up on nil at the moment. Fortunately for Cha1n, he's in a spot where the items are just about in sync, so if Rapha wants to put aggression on the heavy armor, it's going to be a little bit late. And in fact, he ran in there a little bit like, oh yeah, heavy's about to be taken. I better catch him on the jump pad, but he was already gone, which is why Rapha's in such a bad position here. He's still doing a ton of damage in the meantime, but that's not initially what he thought was going to happen when he walked in that room. When in doubt, though, just vomit all over the place. It's a good life lesson. Rapha's railable. When you're Sorlag, that's dangerous. Oof. There's that heavy just in time. So Cha1n stacking back up over by LG. 15 seconds to Mega. This is dangerous because Rapha is thinking, I've got nowhere else to go. I'm just gonna go kill the guy.
Rapha swinging round. Oh, he thought he had gotten away, but no. Only half of him will, as he splits in two by Cha1n. Cha1n back in action. 3 minutes in, it's a 1-1 split on the frags so far. He sees Rapha darting his way across to be able to grab that heavy, and is now trying to chase him down. Comes through the teleporter, knows the way he was going, and decides to cut him off further ahead up the road as they battle back towards middle. No one wanting to push round, terrified of the idea of these rockets causing a storm.
I like that Cha1n is doing a good job of kind of taking the lower number of variables on Awoken and making good use of them. He's not getting caught too often here. And again, that turret is giving him some pretty good information. The Tri-Bolt's so dangerous, though. Have to respect it. But right now, these are fairly safe rails to be poking out for. He doesn't have a whole lot of stack, but it's worth it to knock 1 or 2 rails off of Rapha at the risk of 1. Oh, but this is not what he wanted. Not a close-range LG fight. Anything but that. Did some good damage in the meantime, but unfortunately for him, Mega's up. 10 seconds to heavy. And with Cha1n as a fresh spawn, yeah, I'm glad he ducked out for that rocket launcher. He really needs to defend this heavy now. Oof, nice. Nice. That was important. Took him down to 7 HP, but it was absolutely vital.
Clutch, he's actually been able to keep himself alive at this point and at least stay in the game for a little bit longer. Does have his turret back up and available. He will place that down, so we'll get the early read if he goes out through the portal. Cha1n's on the hunt again. Here's the jumps, here's the grunts. That's exactly where he is. Though timing-wise, he is not in a good spot. He'd have to rapidly try and reposition to get control of that heavy. That's already gone. Mega's still down for another 14 seconds as well. So Cha1n's conceding everything. Sorlag should be able to build up a gigantic stack.
5-minute warning.
It is scary. The doorways can be scarier if Cha1n can get that good initial damage and pop them off, but so far, Cha1n is wanting to keep a respectful distance from Rapha, which makes it more difficult to make those rockets happen. using the turret to kind of shut down some areas, at least for a second, does have some value. Rails on rails is fine here as well. But it, like you said, it doesn't turn into a trade of the items if they're 15 seconds apart. This is the most dangerous timing for Cha1n. If he can, by some miracle, make a frag here with Rapha at like 50 HP, he's going to give it up and go for the LG armor instead. But then immediately that control can shift his way. But now he's got to just belay for another 10 seconds. Really good rails here. He's thinking he's going to get enough, but now he's at 27 health. And the armor's not going to come up in time for the steal. Rapha's got it back, but he's at 50 health. Cha1n's going to spawn LG, and Rapha's not going to give him that fight.
Rapha firing off warning shots, essentially. He is ahead. He wants to try and behead Cha1n. A lot of initiation damage was going the way of him. He puts himself back up on the pedestal, drops down with the perfect timing to get the heavy as well, and then just blows Cha1n away with a gut shot rocket. 2 frags up now. Barely 4 minutes remain as well. As time is ticking by. Cha1n gonna start hitting these shots. Gonna start putting himself back in the forefront of the action. And Rapha's just building that stack, getting everything he wants every time it comes up.
Yeah, for over, what, 20 years now? A truth about Quake has been you can sometimes play a little bit trashier, a little bit more aggressively, and just force a frag off of somebody and take control of the map and turn things around that way. It's very frustrating when you don't feel like you can do that and you're forced to play slower than you even want to. You think, all right, I just need to do like 90 initial damage and then go in, seal the deal, have like 20 health left and see what I can do from that. And that's kind of what Cha1n has been aiming for. But Rapha's been shutting him down every single attempt.
On the hunt. So far ahead. There's definitely room for Cha1n to be able to come back into the game, but he's just not being able to find those entry points, not being able to get any openers, and when he does start to push, he just goes straight down again, as Rapha now makes this 6-2. Only racking up a further deficit.
Just throw up everywhere. He'll get him. And yeah, that Treadhold is such a nuisance from down below. Rapha's pretty weak. Mega's up. Cha1n, you're okay. A lot of ambiguity there on whether that was a failed rocket jump, a fake failed rocket jump, a real fake rocket jump, or just spazzing out. It's hard to say. Nice. Really good rails coming out here. And again, by the numbers, I mean, 4 frags in a minute is not impossible, especially not on Awoken, but just the ability of fight denial that Rapha has here. It's kind of ridiculous. Oh, yeah, that's a that's a I'm done with life maneuver.
It seems like Rapha's nearly done with this game. He's just got to be able to concede this one going forward. He will get that heavy up, and Rapha does actually suicide.
And Cha1n rockets the corpse, because, yeah, that's what you do. But actually, he just spawned there. I mean, sure, Cha1n only has rockets and rails, but you can turn that into a fight, sure. He really needed the LG, though. 10 seconds. One more frag for Cha1n, question mark. One more for the road. Now here we have it, Rapha versus Cha1n. A solid demonstration of Rapha's abilities today here on the QPL. The final week before the Stage 3 finals. And Rapha and crew are more than ready to go.
I think he's proved that. He's still hitting that consistent Rapha mark. He never misses a beat, and That's what he's done again. Ends it there. 7-3 on that one. Dominant stuff across the board. I mean, really for the whole series, still doing what he does best, which is just absolutely slaughtering whoever he's in the server with.
Do what he does best. Everything. He does everything best. Yeah.
He is a very effective man.
Yeah.
And we've seen that again here tonight. Obviously, just having a bit of a game there.
But again, it's wise at this point to know what you're going into for the finals. It isn't going to be split regions online at first. So not only do you need to be aware of who's watching you when you're playing your games, because these are
Mhm.
happening like one at a time, you also need to be aware that this is the same pool of people you're expecting to see next week through a bracket as well. So, or a round robin rather. So, uh, especially with maps like Molten Falls and Blood Covenant, we've already seen a few champion setups that at least one player wasn't really sure how to handle. This is the time to figure that out. You don't want to leave anything to the point where just a champion pick and just a single strategy that you don't know how to work around ends up being a problem for you.
Yes, that is true. Obviously, a lot of factors potentially there could affect things going into finals. So, also, the one benefit you have is there is now just about a week, about 5 days until we actually kick things off. So, any research any of our players need to do, this is that last chance for them to really grind it out, right? Get your benchmarks in, look over some of the VODs, figure out who you need to anti strap based off actual seeding that we'll now know and have confirmed. We'll look into that in a few moments before we close out the stream just to see where everyone actually is. These are really the last chance bodges you can do to fix issues going
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's always a little bit of quiet before a large tournament, whether it's a LAN tournament or in this case online. Uh, you don't want to play your entire hand just yet. There's sometimes where we've wanted to do tournaments right before a big final, a big major, and it's difficult to get signups because nobody wants to show how they're playing Blood Covenant, nobody wants to show how they're playing Blood Run, anything like that. So yeah, these 5 days are going to be intense.
Yeah, you don't want to reveal everything. It's obviously one of those bigger points that will be in there. So I think obviously we can look back over the schedules of how this has gone and just recap the games across the board, I believe, with the overall updated schedules because there was quite a few good games tonight. We had some historic moments, some
Fantastic
interesting
stuff.
ones. Obviously, game 7 and game 8 for me, those were the back-to-back bangers, really.
Yeah, we had we had really tight ones that were back and forth the whole time. We had ones that were one-sided for unorthodox reasons, and I hope to see more of that in the finals as well.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of incredible things that we had. It was a good day. It was a good day of games. I mean,
Fantastic day,
honestly,
yeah.
again, obviously Wenger versus Cooler. That was quite a nice
Yeah, we,
mashup
we
to
almost
have.
didn't have that match. I'm really
Yeah,
very thankful that we did get to see that.
we were a little bit worried that maybe that one will be stolen away from us, but no, we got to see it in the end, and it was a good thing we did. Obviously, it was quite nice stuff. Moving on from that point, what else do we have that was pretty tasty? Saigib versus Dahang, so close. Not only obviously in terms of the fact that it was taken away, it was a victory for Dahang, but just how close the actual games were.
And Saigib able to play to hang like that with the scale bearer. That is one of those things where I'm like, you could have saved that. I
Mm.
mean, in 5 days, somebody's going to have an answer to that. But he made good use of. And frustrating to hang is not the easiest thing. I know how many emojis to hang's face has made over the years, but actually getting to hang mad, that takes some effort. And I think we saw like the beginnings of that on Molten Falls.
Oh yeah. Avik Cypher as well. Another classic banger. So many good games tonight, and I think it obviously just ending it on a high note really to take us through is it needed to be quite a big fitting end. We got all the best players from some of the best players, really close games. Most of the series going 2-1 as well, which normally doesn't
Yeah.
really happen. So it does go to show how tight the competition is getting.
Yeah, and
Uh,
that applies to both regions really, which means, again, looking forward to finals when we get into the cross domain play.
mhm.
It's going to be interesting. The way things have kind of shuffled out over several seasons. I know the usual meme is Rapha, and then the rest of Europe, and then the rest of America. But it's actually shuffled together pretty well. There's a pretty good setup going into this. But again, another thing I'm going to be interested in are going to be the challengers coming in to potentially kick some of our players out of the league and replace them with their own bodies.
Yes, if there is anyone that can actually upset, of course, with that relegation spot, as that is quite a big talking point. So let's get a bit deeper into that and have a look at how the standings were, obviously, before this week. So the week 9 standings, and then we'll look at how things now shape up with the week 10 standings and see if the changes are drastic, as there should be a lot of chopping and changing that has gone on. We had a couple of upsets results. There were a few very important ones that actually did come to fruition tonight as well. So let's have a look back before we look forward.
You mentioned a few things changing, but there are some things that aren't going to change. I mean, Kilson and Razy are still just so tightly knit at the top there, and that's what made today so much fun to watch as well. Just not only how close the games were, but how emotionally charged they seemed as well.
Mm. Oh yeah, like you could really feel for Kilson a lot in that series. Obviously, he had versus Razor, where you could see emotions were running high. They were both trying to give it their all. But this is how things looked then. Obviously, we had Rapha on 451 points, miles above everyone else. You'd imagine he's probably been able to push himself even further after this. Cha1n in 11th position there. Curious to see if he's been able to at least break into that top 10 and really skyrocket himself further going forward. So let's move on. Let's have a look now how it looks after today's roundup of games. As you can see, Rapha, a jump of an extra 50 points, essentially. 1 point off 500. He was stuck on 499, so he couldn't have everything.
Can't even print that many points. We're out of points at the point factory. But yeah, Rapha is looking tip-top shape. You can see he's only lost okay, yeah, he's won 8 matches so far at stage 3, hasn't lost any. In the prior stages, he's only lost 4. But Kilson's not too far behind there. I know we'll get back to Razy, but when you just look at like win-loss ratios, Kilson's had a rougher season, but overall he's still very, very strong. Razy, though, has just been elevating his game entirely.
Oh, he really has done. I mean, all the way up to second. Obviously, it is basically at this point unfair to call Razy up and coming because it feels like he is broken through that mantle. He's up there. Do you know what I mean? Like he is ridiculous. It's
Yeah, I
just
won't
a
use the
matter of,
present tense of those verbs, but yeah.
but like, when does he stop just being the bridesmaid rather than the bride? When's he actually going to be able to take that himself and finally get a
One of these
victory?
days, he's gonna beat Rapha when Rapha doesn't have a head cold. One of these days.
There you go. Maybe that'll be the
He's
case.
made
Obviously,
800 enemies.
Obviously, Kilson down to 3rd place as well. Wenger in 6th place. Base still up there. He was able to keep himself in top 5 throughout the course of the season. Cha1n breaks into the top 10 again and forces his way up to 9th. And Saigib still firmly stuck in 10th place. So overall, it's actually shaped up quite nicely. We've got a good split as well of North Americans and Europeans in the top 10 now.
Absolutely. Yeah, people like Saigib, I'm going to be watching a lot of. Cypher, of course, is perennial favorites. Cooler, yeah, he's one of those guys with the metabolism. You just cannot predict what it's going to look like day in, day out. But his cheeky play is always kind of the most fun. So again, I just kind of want to fast forward 5 days and get into it.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's talk about that then. The stage 3 finals. I know you're probably all eager to see when and where they will be. They're going to be kicking off at 2 p.m. CET. That's 8 a.m. EST on Friday. That's this Friday coming up. And they will be concluding on Sunday. So a lot of games this time around over the span of those 3 days. Both region will play respectively within their own 12-person bracket. And then we'll be taking the top 3 players from each region and they will go into a cross-region bracket where we will be crowning our Stage 3 champion. That is going to be on Sunday. So a lot going on this time around, Cha1n.
Yeah, clear your schedule. Stay indoors. And watch Quake.
Yes. And that is really the best thing you can possibly be doing. That is what is going to be going down. That's where the stage 3 finals will commence. Hopefully, they should be a bit of a spectacle. Obviously, a lot different from the other finals we've had this time. So, potential for some more intriguing moments and potential for some craziness once we get into that cross bracket play. It should be a fantastic affair, Cha1n.
And when Jackie says intriguing moments, he means salt.
You never
It's gonna
know.
be real. Yeah.
Yeah, you never know. You can never count that out.
Feel it coming. Yeah.
The sodium might be there, but we'll be there as well to guide you through all the actions. If you've enjoyed today's show, please join us on the weekend when we come back into it. That, of course, is going to be starting on Friday. Be there or be square. For now, though, we are done and dusted. From me and Jahar, and of course, the fabulous Face It team that make all of this possible. That's everything. Any final thoughts, Jahar?
You wrapped it up perfectly. Let's kick ass next week.
Well, there we go then. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time.